Just recently, literally in the last month, I worked with a client and we recruited a new sales and marketing director with a CEO designation. So the idea is that over the next 12, 18 months, he'll move into the role of CEO. And the existing owner and CEO of the business will move out. And as part of this process, we conducted this new short benchmark tool. And it was sort of interesting to go through the whole process from beginning to end and see how it actually works. What we did was we got our subject matter expert group together, and we talk about this in great detail in a while. We got them together, and instead of doing the usual exercise, which is a 2-hour, 3-hour exercise altogether, doing the key accountabilities on the wall, and then going and doing another hour doing the assessments online, we did the whole exercise online using Skype in 1 hour. And that's really what I want to take you through today and show you how we actually did this. And interestingly, we did it and we got a great result. We got a great benchmark. Everybody was very, very happy. Everybody understood it, and there was no change in the benchmark after. Once it was done, and we're all very happy with it. So that's what we want to take you through and show it you. The biggest obstacle in general, and the one that we would experience in this case study when we started to do it first, and we're going to do it the old way, the biggest obstacle to effective benchmarking is getting people around the table. So if you want a number of key people, say 3 to 5 subject matter experts around the table, getting them for half a day is a real challenge. The second thing is that removing bias. Even though you do the key accountability exercise together and you get all the yellow stickies up on the wall, or you do it in the Excel spreadsheet, whichever way you're doing it, even though you do that, when they go online, the SMEs, to actually do the behaviours, driving forces, DNA, and Hartman questionnaires as though they were the job, even though they have the key accountabilities done and they have them there in front of them, they still sort of tend to go and do the exercises as though they were doing them for themselves and not for the job. It's a real problem. And then thirdly, when you've done the benchmarks, so everybody's done the assessments online, they produce the benchmark. Typically, when you look at the benchmark, you say, well, actually, don't really agree with that. I'd like to move that up. I'd like to move this down. I'd like to do this a little bit differently. I think that should be over there, and so on. And you end up trying to edit the benchmark, and it's almost impossible to do so. So this tool addresses those 3 critical issues and really helps you to do a very quick, very simple, very effective benchmark. Just before I talk about the tool itself, just a quick, again, very, very quick run through. Remember the true cost of bad hire, the importance of doing a benchmark. 800 turnovers because of bad hires, 5 times annual salary. And research findings are really and truly that the reason that people make bad hires is because they don't take time up front to do it. They don't invest the time to understand who the job is, to match the person correctly to the job, and then they wonder why in a week, a month, a year, it's all gone pear-shaped. The person's not performing, they're unhappy, the boss unhappy, and they end up leaving. Remember the old cliche, hire slow, fire fast. And hiring slow really is the key. I mean, I've said once, I've said 1,000 times, and I know you all know this, recruitment is an investment in the future. And in this case study, when we were hiring the sales and marketing director, CEO designate, the single most important thing that I experienced was getting the CEO, the existing CEO and owner of the business, to understand that this was the single most important decision he was going to make. He was spending a lot of time, effort, and money making investment decisions around stock and equipment and so on. And I had to get him to understand that this recruitment was actually the single most important decision he was going to make probably in the next 2 or 3 years. And if he got it right, it would be great. The company would grow, would go forward, he could step back as planned and so on. If it didn't go right, it would be a disaster. And much more serious than buying the wrong truck or the wrong forklift. So remember this, recruitment is an investment in the future. It's like eating your vegetables. Your waistline is a direct reflection of what you eat. If you want to look slim, you've got to eat healthy all the time. You've got to make this investment. And it takes an effort. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Additional turnover. The single biggest reason for turnover, of course, is people are dissatisfied with their jobs. They're on the wrong job. It's a bad fit. We know that, you remember the Gallup studies in previous webinars, 30% of people are engaged, 55% are non-engaged, and 15% are actively disengaged, doing damage. And we really need to improve those figures. So, if the job could talk, what would the job say? How would it describe itself? It would talk about its knowledge. It would talk about hard skills for sure. It might talk about experience it needs to have, but also about personal attributes, rewards, behaviours, driving forces, and so on, acumen and such like. The benefits of matching the person to the job is that if you hire a match to the job, then you really are hiring a match to the job. You actually have got a person who fits into the job. They have the right skills, they have the right talents, they have the right behaviours, the right driving forces, and so on. Number two, you can put a performance measurement system in place. If you've got a proper match and you've done a proper benchmark, you can build a performance appraisal out of that. You can build an onboarding program out of that. You can build a development plan, both personal and professional development plan, and so on. So once you've got a benchmark done, and you can do a gap analysis between an individual and a benchmark, it's very easy to do all of these things. Without a benchmark, it's really hard. On what basis do you measure performance? You don't know what the job requires. So I strongly encourage you, just in general, irrespective of which approach you take to benchmarking, if you've measured the psychometric, to get a clear understanding of what the job requires is critical if you want to onboard properly, if you want to put development plans in place, if you want to do proper performance appraisal. So what's a benchmark? Well, a benchmark is a measure, it's a point, a line in the sand, if you wish, where you say, here's a measure that we can measure against. We identify something that we can measure it against. And it's constant, it doesn't change. Not saying you won't tweak and modify your benchmarks as you go forward, as you learn, you do. But basically, what you're saying, if you have an individual and you say, this is the job, you can benchmark an individual or a range of individuals against it, which means for recruitment, you can measure a whole series of individuals against a benchmark. For succession planning, you can do that. For development planning, you can do that. So it's drawing a line in the sand about what a role really is, so you can measure against it. In the benchmark, in the TTI benchmark, you know that we measure 61 job-related factors. So we have, for example, 12 behaviours, we have 12 driving forces, we have 12 acumen capacity measures, and we have 25 competencies. So there's 61 job-related factors being measured in the benchmark. Why aren't we there yet? Well, the answer is we sort of are, and we're getting better. And I think you'll find that, though you're all familiar, of course, with the old benchmarking tool, this new benchmarking tool, I think you'll find, is even simpler and is even closer to being where we want to be. So let's go through it. The job matching starts with job and the people. In this short version, the first step is very, very simple. You identify a panel of 3 to 5 subject matter experts. And this is the exact same as the old system. People who understand the role intimately and or have a stake in the success. So you find people who understand the job or for whom success in the job is very important. So this could be a boss, it could be peers, it can in fact be somebody outside the organization, a subject matter expert, who understands the job really, really well, but may not work in that company, and you can get them in for the day or get them in for the hour, whatever it is to do it. Of course, on the new system, where you're only asking to make a small time input, it's much easier to get their involvement. Step 2, you email them the following 5 questions. So you have your panel of 3 to 5 people, and you email them these 5 questions. And the questions are very simple. You want to ask them, why does this position exist? Why is it necessary? What's its reason for being? So why does the position exist? And in the email, you ask them to write a paragraph on each of these questions. And the second question you ask them is, what are the roles, major duties and responsibilities? The third question is, what are the key result areas of this position? So the essential areas of activity that must be performed well in this role to achieve the mission and goals of the business. And how can superior performance then be measured? So the first one is, why does a job exist? What are the major roles and duties? And then what are the key results areas of this position? The fourth question is, what qualities, skills and knowledge are required to do this job at the highest level of performance? And the last one, does this job interface with people, with departments, and does it require this person to be a leader and a coach? And what kind of interface is this person having with other people, other departments, and what kind of way as a leader or a coach? So you give them about a week. And the reason you give people about a week to respond is you give them time to mull over this. So you send these 5 questions by email, and it's a Monday, and you say, listen, this day week, I need these back from you at 12 noon on Monday week. So this is today week. And they send them back to you. So they've had a week to reflect on these, to think about it when they're in the shower, when they're out for a run, when they're at lunch, whatever. And they'll have their little insights. And all they have to do is respond in the email. They don't need to fill any big comprehensive form. Just on the email as a response, they can just type in their notes right beside the questions. So you ask them to do that, and at the end of the week, they send you back the replies. So now you have, I think, between 3 and 5 people have responded to those 5 questions. You've got between 15, let's say, and 25 answers or paragraphs there in front of you. And what you do is you pull these together. You look at these and you sit down yourself and you pull these together into 3 to 5 key accountability statements. So this is why the job is a key accountability of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you write a paragraph. You consolidate the notes, the various things that people have said, and you consolidate those into a paragraph describing each key accountability. When you've that done, you send it back out to people. You send it back out to your panel and say, have a look, add value to them, challenge them. If you have any comments you want to make, send them back to me. Now remember, so far as people are concerned, they haven't really spent any great time on this. They haven't had to chunk out time in their diary. They've done it at their leisure when they've had gaps in their schedule or in their day, and they've had time to mull over, reflect, and think about the job very, very carefully. So you ask them just a little bit of feedback on this, and they will do that, and you'll be surprised the contribution you get back. Once you've got that feedback there, you modify your key accountability, send them out to everybody else, and then you get the panel together, face-to-face if you want, or online. I've used Skype a lot. I say to people it's 1 hour, it's a 1 hour exercise, and this is the real first time commitment they're making, where they're scheduling an hour in their diary and they're showing up to actually do something. So you get them together for an hour. I just make a note there, you'll see it there on the slide. If there are major differences in the panel responses, it may be worthwhile getting them into one room to agree the key accountabilities, and that will take extra time. But if you do this properly, and if you do a little bit toing and froing on the email, you'll find the fact that the differences get ironed out very, very quickly. So you get them all together, they're all online, and it's the 1 hour session. And this is really all you've asked them for, remember, a 1 hour session. The first 15 minutes, you just go over the key accountabilities, talk about the titles, just go through the paragraph describing each one, make sure everybody understands exactly what it's saying, explain the language if people aren't clear. If people in that interaction, that Skype call, want to edit these statements, they can all share them, everybody hears them talking, and you can tweak and share and edit the statements if necessary. Usually I find there's 1 or 2 words that we tweak or change, nothing significant. And then you just simply do the ranking and allocating time. So you rank them, you say, of the 5 statements, if we had to drop one, which would we drop? And you put 5 beside it. If we have to drop another, which would drop, and you put 4. And you rank them until you've got them ranked 1 to 5. And then you say very quickly, where will the job spend the most of its time? And you identify where will the majority of the time go, and you identify that. Then the next biggest chunk. And remember, that may not be the same as the ranking. Quite often something that ranks very high, that's #1 priority, doesn't take a lot of time. It's the single most important key accountability for the role, but in fact it doesn't take a lot of time. It's something that is not really critical at maybe number 3 or number 4, but takes a significant amount of time. It's just the nature of the way jobs work. Once you've done that, you've done your 15 minutes, we've all agreed what the key accountabilities are, we've ranked them and we've put time on them. We then very simply, we use this new short benchmarking tool that I'm going to show you now. And we manually rank the behaviours, the driving forces, the competency, the acumen indicators, depending on what science you're actually using. If you're using 3 sciences or 4 sciences, you do your ranking on the new tool. And when the benchmark is completed, you email a copy to each partner. So let's have a look now, just for a simple, let's go and look at the actual IDS tool itself. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to walk through, literally the step-by-step that you're going to have to do. And I'm doing this on our research one here. So this way you go. So you'd go into your account in IDS and you open link management, create a new link. Simple as that. And the link in the link name, we'll call it webinar test. And the link description, try HD job, and next. And we go to here, and again, if you were doing DNA, for example, you'd go in here, and you pick the DNA one. You see where it says S? That means short. This is the new short version. We're actually going to look here at the DNA, Trimetrics HD, with the DNA and with the ACI. So we go down here, Trimetrics HD job S, and we do add. So the exact same as you would do normally for a report. And then we click next, go through the normal steps, whatever way you normally set up your links, do nothing, and we go to 1, and next. This exact same way that you set up any link that you're sending out to a client. So that's it done. And here we have our link and we have our login code. There's a login code and here's our link. So you would go and you'd obviously what happens is when you do that exercise, you get the email with the link and with the code if you want to send it to people, but you're doing it here yourself. Typically when I do this, by the way, when I'm sharing this on the screen in Skype, I'm the one managing this. Everybody else is just watching and I'm the one who's doing the moving and clicking things around. Okay, so next, welcome. There is complete now. The exact same as you saw. First name I'm going to put on here, Pádraig Berry. Sorry, bear with me. And email address at ttisii.com, organization ttisii, and position job CEO. Okay, we're just going to do this. Mail, and here we go. Agreement box not checks, I agree. Okay. Now, so this is the exact same way. If you were doing an online assessment, if you were doing a Trimetrics HD, you'd go through a process just like this. You'd end up with a series of questions. Here we're looking at the questions for a job. So it says here, for each of the statements in this section, select all the related position job being analysed. So this position has responsibility to hire or fire employees, yeah? Establish performance objectives, yeah? Conduct and sign performance appraisals, yeah? Place employees in discipline audits, yes? And so on. So if you pick the ones, it goes to the second question, manage personal and business expenses, participate in the budgeting process, yes? You can pick whichever ones you want. Decision-making authority, I'm going to pick this one, just pick whatever, just for this exercise. Position held accountable for the following performance objectives. Pick a couple there and go through. The consequence of the organisation when mistakes are made is lost business, lost time, lost equipment, whatever. You pick the ones that are relevant. And as you're doing this, you'll be there and you'll have the team, these subject matter experts there with you, and you'll be agreeing which ones they are. Employees have access to cash checks, valuable resources, and you're going, yeah, that's right. You'll be clicking them and you'll be on to the next one. And then they come on to this one, acumen indicators. And you say, superior performance of the job requires sensitivity to life situations of others, the ability to see things from a people perspective, perceiving the needs of others. And you go, yeah, that's for example. And so on. Working on projects, you go through all of these. I'm just going to go through them all here. I'm going to pick a couple, makes no difference. I'm just doing this randomly to show you. But you'll be here with your subject matter experts picking things like this and agreeing which ones are important for the job. And typically I find I pick one or two of each one, maybe three. If there's a lot of them, you might end up picking 3 or 4 of them. But typically 1 or 2 of each of them at the very least. And just again, showing you how to do it, just going through it very, very quickly, not to spend time on it. So we're going through this and we're coming up with a profile for the job in terms of superior performance for this job requires a person who is, and so on. Then we come to behavioural match. And it says here, it gives you here, you'll remember that there are 12 behavioural types. So we're just saying primary behaviour, you can pick a primary behaviour, situational or non-essential behaviour. Very, very simple. Of the behaviours, remember, we have urgency. We're saying it's a primary behaviour. We absolutely require this. Frequent action, others, yeah. Organised workplace, situational. Analysis of data, non-essential. Competitiveness, yeah, absolutely. We're saying versatility, yeah. People-orientated, yeah, maybe. We're saying frequent change. Actually, I'm going to put that 1, yeah. So you're there with your team again, the subject matter, and you're picking these, which is a primary, which is a situational, which is a non-essential behaviour. And picking them and deciding, there we go. So we've picked these ones. And what happens is when you pick them, you end up with this. And you end up with a screen that shows you 4 primary behaviours, 4 situational, 4 non-essential. And then you have the opportunity to go and rank these, because you might have changed, based on the questions, you get this ranking, you might, well, actually, we want to do it a bit differently. I want to put this here, and I want that there. I'm not actually sure about that. You know, well, I suppose maybe, we're interacting a lot with clients who do this, and you have a debate, and you have a conversation with your subject matter experts. So versatility, follow and follow through, yeah, organized workplace, and frequent people orientation. I'm actually saying I'm going to put that down there. I'm going to say that, in fact, consistency is more important. I'm just making this up. You can do it any way you want. And what you end up then is you end up your team, you said, okay, there's our behavioral benchmark. Very simple. There it is. Primary behavior, situational, and non-essential. And you rank them like that with the people. And then you go on to the next one, which is here, just bear with me. So here you come into your driving forces. And we're saying, okay, again, rank them. And you'll be familiar with driving forces. We have 12 driving forces: intellectual, resource, harmonious, altruistic, and so on. There's the 12 of them there. And you pick them and decide which are primaries. I'm saying that's situational. I'm saying resourceful is number 1. I'm saying harmonious, no. I'm saying altruistic, no. Non-essential. Commanding, I'm saying, yeah, number 1. Structured, I'm saying non-essential. Instinctive, I'm saying, yeah, we want a person, yeah. I'm saying selfless, you know, sometimes maybe. Objective, yeah. Intentional, yeah. Collaborative, situational. And receptive, I'm saying, yeah. And so I picked all of these, and I end up again with a grid like this. And you can see I've got 6 here, 3 here, and 3 here. So I'm going to pick them and rank them. Primary, resourceful, number 1. I'm saying commanding, number 2. I'm going to say objective, number 3. And I'm going to say instinctual, number 4. I'm going to say intentional, number 5. Receptive, number 6. And collaborative, number 7. I'm just re-ranking them a little bit here. And then I'm popping them down here like so. And so now here what I've done is I've done what I would do were I to go online and do an assessment. The exact same thing. I've ranked my driving forces in terms of primary, situational, and non-essential. And then we move here to our competencies. And here, remember, in competence we have 25 competencies. So what we're going to do is we're going to rank them. And I'm saying pre-set the other, situational, conflict management, non-essential, actually maybe situational. So you're there, you're having this debate with your subject matter experts. Creative innovation, yeah, I think is really important. Conceptual thinking, yeah, actually I'm going to put that number 1 as well. Customer focus, situational, applied development coaching, yeah. Diplomacy, because it's non-essential, I'm not very diplomatic. Decision making, yeah, I think that's the primary one we're going to say, you're very important. Flexibility, likewise. Futuristic thinking, likewise. Goal orientation, likewise. Influencing others, situational. Interpersonal skills, situational. Leadership, yeah, we'll say it's very important. Continuous learning, situational. Negotiation, non-essential. I'm just going to run through them very quickly here and say, you know, what do we think are really important skills in a role, and you go along, you'll be picking them like this: self-starting, teamwork, understanding others. So we've picked them there. And then what happens is you get this, and you get the opportunity, the exact same thing, and you have your primary top 7, your situational, and your non-essential. And so you do the exact same exercise. Go through, you drag them across here. So I'm going to say that I think that. So I'm here with my subject matter expert. We say this in goal orientation. We think self-starting, resilience. These are really critical for this role. We're saying we want to rank those, even though we already picked them a little bit differently. We want to reorganize them. We think that decision making is very important. Leadership is very important. Personal accountability. In fact, we'd say I really want to put that up there. So you're having a little debate, and you're saying flexibility. And then so now they've got your top 7, and say, well, these have to go down here. Creativity, conceptual thinking, futuristic thinking, and we have them like that. And you can go and you can rank them all until them all ranked. Sorry, I obviously have to put them all over. So we put them all over here. But normally you go through these and you say, which ones do I want to rank? How do I want to rank them? People will say, well, actually, no, I think that's important. We should have put that up there. We should put this down. I think that should be below that. And you're having this little debate with people, and you end up ultimately with your ranking of 25 competencies. And there's an algorithm that basically, when you complete this, okay, so save. When you complete this, and when you get your benchmark, so there we're done, we finished it. We've done the benchmark and it's completed. And if I go here just for a moment and I look at reports, now you will typically, of course, this report will be sent to you, but I'm going to open the report so you can actually see it and see what you actually practically get. So here's the job report, Porrickberry, C-O-T-T-I-S-I-I. Again, remember this is just made up. But this is what you'll get. You'll get the key characteristics, the job competency, driving force, the behavior, the acumen. Remember, 25, 12, 12, and 12, and 4 key characteristics. Excuse me, just flipping down here for a moment. So here's what it's saying. So based on the benchmark that we use, saying the accountability results is moderate, results to people's moderate, authority moderate, and risk significant. So it's giving these key characteristics of the position. And then it's actually producing this curve here. Remember the grand piano shape. It's producing this grand piano shape showing your top 7 competencies, the next bunch, and the next bunch. And so you can see there, just follow that shape and distributes them that way. So it does for your benchmark. And then you get your goal orientation, you get a definition of each one and the score for the job. And the exact same as in a normal report. You see here the mean there and 1 standard deviation each side, the mean, where you have 64% in total in that space here, 32 point whatever it is, or 2 point whatever it is there. And then you end up with your benchmark here that you can actually do a gap analysis, you can compare people to, and so on. Here you get your primary driving force foster. So we have resourceful, commanding, objective, and instinctive. And again, the score for each one. And again, you see, it actually gives them a score. And it actually distributes this, if you wish, in a curve. Again, there's a piece of software that just distributes this in a curve, and based on what you would normally expect in a ranking. Situational driving force cluster, and indifferent driving force cluster. And then the behavioral hierarchy. So this is your disk, and you have your 12 behaviorals. So you have urgency, competitiveness, frequent change, frequent interaction with others, versatility. And again, it gives you a score and makes a distribution out of this itself automatically based on the ranking that you gave the behaviors. And the last one you have is your acumen. And again, it gives you a rank, it gives you a score, and follows a curve based on the way you picked the questions. And there is your benchmark. And this is the exact same as you would get if you did the old-fashioned way of spending 2 or 3 hours with people, getting the yellow stickies up on the wall, or doing an Excel spreadsheet, writing the key accountabilities together, and then everybody going online, doing the 4 psychometric assessments as though they were the job, and so on. This is the exact same, but you can see how quick this is. This exercise literally is a 1-hour exercise, and you get the normal feedback. It's the exact same report that you would get from an ordinary benchmark. So, bear with me. You'll remember that if you did a normal benchmark, the normal way, you'd end up with this, the key characteristics, the competencies, the summary of the top competencies. You'd end up with the behavioral driving force and acumen indicators. You get the exact same using this tool. The job talent comparison report remains unchanged. The gap report remains unchanged. And the interview questions remain unchanged. So just to summarize what I've said to you, simply put, in the benchmark, what you're trying to establish are the 61 factors, maybe less if you're not using Hartman. You take 12 out. You have 25 competencies, 12 behaviors, and 12 driving forces. But you're trying to identify what these factors are for the job. A very, very clear, unbiased assessment or benchmark of the job based on those factors. The way you do it is you get a group of subject matter experts together. In the old way, you got them together in a room, and you all brainstormed, you put the yellow stickings up on the wall. It's all sort of nice, and the brainstorming together sort of works and it helps, but it takes 2 hours at the very least. My experience has been that it can take up to 3 hours. And you're doing that up on the wall, then you put it all together, you write the key accountability, and you organize them, and then everybody goes online and they do the assessments, the 4 assessment or the 3 assessment, depending whether you're doing HD or you're just doing DNA. And then all their bias, it's very hard for them to eliminate their bias. A lot of their bias gets built into those exercises when actually online doing the assessments. With the best of intentions, it gets built in. And you get a benchmark that isn't necessarily accurate, and you end up having to go back and trying to do what we've literally just done here in the short one, reorganize the behaviors, the driving force one, in the ranking, in the order that you want them to do. On this new system, what you do quite simply is you email out the questions, the 5 questions to everybody. You remember the exercises, we'll flack up here again very quickly, and you email out the 5 questions to everybody, to these 3 to 5 subject matter experts. You send them out those questions, you give them a week to mull over the questions and to fill in the email underneath each question and send it back to you. When you get them back, you put them together into 3 to 5 key accountabilities, and you share it with titles, and you share those with the subject matter experts, and give them an opportunity to add value, to challenge some of them, and whatever. You bring the people, once you've got that done, you bring the people together, and it's the only time they really come together. You can do it online using Skype or GoToMeeting, and it takes 1 hour. The exercise takes 1 hour. You spend 15 minutes reviewing the key accountabilities, allowing people to tweak a word here or a word there, rank them from least important to most important. So you got 5 up to 1, so now you got your ranking, the most important key accountability, the second most important, and so on. And then put a time allocation, much time in the job is spent on each one. And then you send this back out, just email it out, if you've done it, email it out to everybody, and then you go online, very simply, you go online and you pop up the tool, just like we looked at there. You create a link, the exact same as you would do for a report. You create a link, you produce a link for the benchmark, and then you just literally go and do the benchmark. You share your screen with people, you go and do the benchmark, they see you doing it, they're all talking, you're dragging and dropping, you're clicking the questions, dragging and dropping, ranking and organizing your benchmark. At the end of it, you press the button, it's completed, you immediately have the benchmark, you send it back out to everybody, say, there's our benchmark. And when you've that done, you can use that the exact same way as you use an ordinary benchmark for a gap analysis, for a job talent comparison report, and so on. So there's no difference in the output, it's just the input that changes. So that's the short version benchmark, guys. I hope this has been clear to you. This has been recorded, so we'll send this out to you, and you will have it available to you to review and look at. Any problems any of you have, please just give me a tingle. I'll walk through it online with you. I'll set up on Skype. I'll go through it again with you and explain to you if you're not sure how to use it. I strongly encourage you. I'll set up, anybody who wants one, I will set up a free demo for you. So I'll give you a link that you can set up one. Do it with somebody in your business or with one of your clients as an experiment. Try it out, do the exercise, and learn how to do it. So I wish you luck. It's good talking to you all again. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be in touch shortly. Thanks, guys.